Okay, lock me in a smart city because I've done something that I never thought I would do. I've bought a drone. Yeah, and it's creepy as fuck, to be honest, having this little bug thing follow you around. I started off in the house at first, and the cat's reaction was just hilarious. Alma, who's the most timid out of all of them, she was, I'm gone. Rufus and Neve, they were a little bit more curious. I'm going to try and share the footage. I took it to the stables yesterday, or rather the field, because my horses are no longer stabled. They're no longer locked in boxes. And their reaction was pretty funny as well. But it is really weird. Now, I remember watching a series called Omniscient, and it's about a young girl who lives in a smart city, and they're all monitored by these drones, and a murder happens, and these drones basically monitor your temperature, your mood, everything. I mean, those of you who are aware of certain agendas that are playing out that they want, doesn't mean that they will get, although things are in play for what they want. I did move from Bolton because I believe it was around 30 billion that China, it was either million or billion, I can't remember the exact figure, but I knew someone who worked for the council, and she told me that she'd seen documentation that China were funding the smart city in Bolton. And Bolton had this document called Vision 2030, and it was all in the back of the buses. And again, those of you who are aware of the date 2030. So that was my biggest reason for wanting to get out of Bolton, because it was closing in. And honestly, this program, see, I like sci-fi stuff, and I actually like technology. I think it's the idea of what they want to do with this technology that actually freaks me out. Anyway, long story short, this program Omniscient is about this girl who's followed by a drone. Now, can anybody remember a film where it had a drone that followed people around? Yeah, you know, one of my favourite films as a kid. You know, the predictive programming's real, and boy, do they put it out there. But again, if you go off and watch my videos around technology, my perception has changed a little bit around technology. You know, with all the esoteric stuff that I've been looking into, it all just is, and it's all, you know, all has to happen, all has to play out. But anyway, going back to this drone. So it is pretty freaky having this thing hovering. It's the DJI Neo, for anybody who's interested. It was only cheap for what I want it for. I don't need anything, but the reason why I actually bought one is two reasons really. I've always had a bit of an obsession with sharks, and I came across this horrific shark attack that happened in Egypt, and I did watch this footage quite a few times, not because I enjoyed watching the young lad get devoured by the shark, but the sheer stealth of this pure killing machine. Just, you know, I just find the creatures fascinating. So anyway, that led me on to, because we know how the algorithm on YouTube feeds you things, it led me on to a YouTuber by the name of Malibu Artist, and he basically takes footage, rather, very cinematography, if that's in the right context. That was just beautiful footage in America, and he goes over the waters and he films all these sharks. And all these sharks, I mean, swear to God, you've got surfers, you've got kayakers, people swimming, and they've got no idea that there's sharks, great white sharks beneath them. It's phenomenal, beautiful footage, but it does highlight that sharks generally leave people alone. But one has to ask, why are shark attacks apparently becoming more common? Could it be to do with EMFs? Anyway, so excuse me. And then there was my friend who is a horse trainer. She put something up with this, filming a training one of her horses, and of course it was from more of an aerial view, and I just thought, you know what, that might be a good idea for my vlogging, to get more of an interesting perspective on what I'm filming at any given time. So yeah, I went and bought one. It wasn't the easiest thing to connect the Android and the drone, but luckily YouTube's great for people who have a little bit more nous with technology, and the instructions were easy enough to follow. I just need to now work out how to get the footage with sound from the drone, because what I'm using at the moment is my phone to record the sound. So the sound is in the phone and the video is in the drone. And what's meant to happen is when I download the video to my phone, the sound and the phone are supposed to connect and become one, and that doesn't happen with me. Surprise, surprise. Another thing I want to share with you is the beautiful wonder of synchronicities. Now, I personally experience some really amazing synchronicities. Sometimes I don't know the reason for those synchronicities, but hey, do we need to know the reason for everything? And I think I'll do a video on that one day. But this particular synchronicity, so I've cleared my van out. I did want to do some drone footage of that, but my drone needed charging because the battery, when they say the battery lasts 20 minutes, they weren't wrong. And let's take a few minutes off that. It really doesn't last long at all. So I didn't get that footage. But anyway, gorgeous day yesterday, clouding over as we speak right now. My neighbour basically approached me yesterday and flagged me down and said, got someone who can sell your van, can get $3,000 for you. So I spoke to the guy and he said he's got about 4 people interested. As we speak at the moment, he is cleaning it all out to get the best price for it. So I was offered a van by one of my neighbours who no longer wants it. I don't like the inside of it, but hey, it's a newer van. It's got an elevator bed, and the electrics are a little bit better than mine, and it's bigger for the cats. So I've been putting off speaking to him. Now, we had a flippant conversation a while back, and he was like, yeah, you can keep it, you can have it. So I approached him yesterday, and I have been putting it off. You know, you said I could have your van, can I? And he said, no, but you can have it for $3,000. It is a bargain. So if I can get $3,000 for my van, I'm going to buy his van. So bigger, better for the cats. Just yeah. And that's all I've got to share. I've just gone under a bridge with a speed camera, and I hope it is just a speed camera. I hope it's not going to flag me for being on this, because we know how the UK is getting right now. Anyway, I don't want to get into all of that.